Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Witches the Moon. I'm your Monday hostess, Natalie, and this week's topic is group work versus solo work. In this video, I'm probably not going to go into a lot of depth about because this is a topic we've covered before in the past, and I've kind of made how I personally feel about it clear in the past. But for those of you that may be new to the channel or just like to get different perspectives, your perspectives on things tend to change over time. So here goes. Okay. For me personally, I have had just a few experiences in doing group work in terms of coming together with other witches to combine our energy to affect an ending of some sort. There was one time where I was invited to a group ritual at the Lady Grave Dancer's home, and I did go, and it was a wonderful energy. It really was. I enjoyed myself immensely. It was great to get to spend some time with other witches and talk with other witches about things, not even just witchy stuff, but just to be around people who are like-minded, that accept you as you are and don't, question you or make fun of you or anything like that. It was really wonderful to have that time, and I really did enjoy it. And I wish I could have stayed a little bit longer, but it wasn't, like I could stay overnight or anything. Not that I would impose on the Lady Grave Dancer like that anyway, but it was a wonderful energy. Now, do I think that my spell work that came out of that particular ritual was any better than what I do when I'm by myself? I don't know. Because frankly, the stuff that I was working on, I'm still working on now. It's a work in progress. It's one of those things where I have to continuously go back and address it over and over to keep it going and to try to improve the situation. So it wasn't like it was something that I was just going to, boom, have results and that was great. But I can tell you that the energy was vastly different than when I do it on my own. Now, I've also done group work where we coordinated times because there was a great distance between us. So, for example, my sister in San Antonio and a friend of mine who lives in England, we coordinated our energies at certain times to affect a spell that we were hoping would improve the life situation of someone who is close to me, whose behavior directly affects me. And it did help for some time, but I have a feeling, again, that's one of those things that's got to be an ongoing kind of thing, and it's difficult to work on that. I do what I can when I can, but I do feel that that was probably a little more of an oomph. And I'm not saying that, you shouldn't ever be in group work or coven work and things like that. Now, I want to be very clear because there is a vast difference between coven work and group work and individual work. Okay, what I was doing with the other witches at Lady Grave Dancers, I would not consider coven work. We are not a coven. We don't come together on a regular basis. Some of these people were coming in from out of town. It was just a group of us getting together and combining our energies. Now, how does that differ from coven work? Well, coven work is when you have a group of witches who regularly comes together to bring their energy together. And I do believe that when you are in a coven, that the energy is probably much greater than just what we were doing in our group work, in the respect that it's more coordinated, if that makes sense. Everybody seems to be on the same page and in sync with each other a little bit more. So it may be far more effective. I don't really know. My problem with covens is that I'm a weird person, and I'm not overwhelmingly popular. So I don't gel well with a lot of other people. There might be one or two people out of the group that I kind of click with, and the rest of them either don't like me or I don't like them, or we just are kind of neutral about each other, So when you have a coven, usually it's a close-knit group. It's people who come together on a regular basis, not just for spell casting, but for like Sabbath ritual and things like that. And so you form a bond, and that certainly will make your energy a lot different than just doing group work. So that's the difference between coven work and group work. Now, solo work, obviously, it's you by yourself. So group work can be done where it's coordinated across time differences and you're just combining your energies. You could even do it this way where, for example, the one witch that I have in England, she's a close sister of mine, and so I have a sigil that allows me to combine her energy with any spellcraft that I happen to be doing. So it's one of those things where she doesn't have to be present or conscious on it. By using that sigil, I'm pulling her magical energy into my working. So I consider that group work, or at least duo work, because it's not me by myself. I'm calling on someone else's energy to input into my spell. So solo work versus group work, which is better, it depends on you. It depends on the spell. It depends on the amount of energy and visualization that you put into it. I really do believe that your individual solo work is just as effective as group work if you have got the right combination of factors going on in terms of your visualization, your intent, your willingness to put the effort into the spell, and that may mean having to work on the spell over a period of time. See, that is one of the things that I think a lot of people, they try some spell work, and when the spell doesn't work the first time out, they go, oh, I guess that's it. It just doesn't work. Well, there may be a lot of factors going into that. You have to consider other people's free will. You have to consider other people who may be negating your efforts by whatever energy they're putting out, whether consciously or subconsciously. And you have to consider whether or not what you're doing goes against, well, I think I mentioned free will of the person, but also your intent and your visualization. Is your heart really in it? Are you really focused on that work, or is your mind on what's going on at your job over here, or this fight you had with so-and-so over here, or what's happening with this person here? Are you really focused on your craft when you're doing these spells? And I cannot tell you how important that is, especially in solo work. Your visualization has got to be on point, and your intent must be present at all times in the spell, because you can negate your own spell work by negative thinking, even in your subconscious mind. Remember, we talked last week about the power of the subconscious. The subconscious is extremely powerful. So if there is an inkling of doubt in your mind about the efficacy of your spell work, you're negating it. I can tell you that right now. It's just not going to be as effective as it could be. Even if it is effective, it's not going to be as effective as it could be if you were putting that intent and you truly believed it was going to work for you. Now, again, I mean, that's kind of the big difference between solo work, group work, coven work. I don't feel that one is necessarily better than the other. I think it depends on who you're with, what you're doing, and your intent. So, for all intents and purposes, I really do think sometimes I pull from the other hosts here and pull their energies into some of my workings. I'll call out to them and say, hey guys, I'm having this issue. Any positive thoughts or thinking? I'd appreciate it. And I absorb that energy and I put it forward into the spell, and it's usually quite effective. So I would consider that a form of group work also. Just think of it that way. So I hope that this video has given you a little bit of a start on the information. I'm sure everybody this week is going to have a totally different perspective. So I do advise you to tune in and kind of get what you can from it, because I think we learn from others and we gain a lot of rich knowledge from other people's perspectives. So again, thank you so much for watching, and blessed be.